Is up, guys? Welcome back to Blue Bloods Football with your host Hamlet. So this video is going to take a bit of an interesting turn. It's going to be more on the tactical analysis side of what on earth is going on at Chelsea, guys. So it's no secret that things have gone completely left at Chelsea, and this is down to a bunch of numerous factors, but I'm going to break it down and focus on certain aspects first. This is going to be a two-part video. The second part of the video is probably the most important in my opinion, but I felt like I needed to start here. So what is wrong with Chelsea tactically? There's many obvious things as to what is actually or could be the issue at Chelsea as to why we aren't performing, especially on the goal scoring side. And now, obviously starting to concede goals, which leads us to losing games, especially in the manner in which we concede certain goals is very silly. But the biggest issue, obviously, is a mentality issue. It's a mindset issue, which comes from things that are going on in the background, which is going to be part of a second video. But this is going to be specifically looking at tactics. If we look at how Chelsea have been used to playing a lot of the time, and some of my ideas have come from looking at multiple videos like and reading articles like The Athletic and Daily Mail, looking at TIFO analysis and stuff like that, so shout out to them. We have predominantly been used to using a 3-4-3 and a 3-5-2 formation, especially a 3-4-3 formation, so basically a 3 at the back. And the way in which you attack is completely different from the majority of teams that utilize a 4 at the back system. So obviously it's predominantly using the wing backs, and that's very key and important when it comes to using these formations. As you can see, how important it was when Reece James and Chilwell got injured that season with Tuchel, which caused us to go on the worst downhill ever. Lukaku came into that team, looked like a fish out of water in comparison to his Inter Milan days. It basically killed any form of creativity we had in that team. We have to use the flanks. That's the limitation when it comes to 3-4-3. And at the same time, the 3-4-3 happens to cover a lot of weaknesses defensively and in an attacking sense. It uses a lot of hybrid players that have dual roles, like wing backs are forced to attack, create, as well as come back and defend. The central midfielders and the pivots forced to kind of do the same thing, but at the same time we don't have any dedicated roles in the team, like I mentioned in one of my shorts. All this combined, add on the fact that there's no striker and no one to finish goals, just causes calamities, guys. So there are no midfielders in the middle that have dedicated roles, like a central attacking midfielder, to the forms of like your Martin Odegaard, who you rely on to make that key pass, or Kevin De Bruyne, to central defensive midfielders like a Casemiro to break up play, or a Declan Rice. Those guys are not present in our team. We have people who are somewhat capable of defending, somewhat capable of attacking, but not to a full extent. N'Golo Kante is not primarily a CDM. His strengths lie in high interceptions and high pressing, high intensity, running around, doing that stuff, but he doesn't sit and break up play. You can't fall back in between the defenders and receive the ball from the keeper to start build-up play. Enzo Fernandez, on the other hand, can kind of do all those things, but not at an extremely high level, and obviously he can't do all of that alone. Kovacic is good at dribbling the ball and beating the press, but he's not reliant in terms of finding that surging through ball. He has done it a couple of times, but that's not his role. He doesn't sit back and defend as well. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, strengths lie in dribbling. Obviously he hasn't been at his best for a while, but that's essentially what you look to him for, the strength and the dribbling and the beating the press. Does not make a key pass to save his life. Same thing with Mason Mount, attacking midfielder, semi-winger, semi-midfielder. I have no clue what Mount is. Kai Havertz, don't even get me started on that. I'll end up at the front line at some point, but I'm just looking at all our midfielders. And that's the story, guys. This obviously doesn't help when it comes to forming a team and finding a formation and a system that suits the players, because you need people that have dedicated roles and know exactly what they're doing. It's good to have a CDM like Thomas Partey. You know exactly what he's capable of and what he's going to do, nothing more, nothing less. Martin Odegaard, same thing. Granit Xhaka, same thing. It gives the team stability and some hard structure to rely on, some bedrock to rely on as a foundation. Chelsea doesn't have that in terms of the players, so the 3 at the back system does make sense to cover the weaknesses that we have, especially the ones we had defensively, like Thiago Silva, who wasn't really that great in a back 4 system, with a partnering centre back, but in the back 3 system a lot of his weaknesses were covered, and he had to just focus on putting himself in the right place to intercept the ball, preventing their lead strikers from getting it, stuff like that, which he was tremendously good at, especially given his experience. If we look at the forwards now, so the issue for the longest time we spoke about is having a key striker for the team. This like I said, I feel like there's a lot of other issues we need to sort out first, but this is definitely one of them. Seeing, everything go on, like I said, we need the dedicated roles in the midfield. But the striker position and the wingers as well are very important, especially the striker position, because we can see that when chances are created, which is few and far between, they can't get finished. And the players that play in that forward position don't put themselves in a position to finish it. Every time, how many times have you seen the ball being fizzed across from the left or the right, and no one in the 6-yard area or 9-yard area to finish it? Countless times, because everyone's a pseudo midfielder or a pseudo central attacking midfielder. Kai Havertz, for example, this guy came in as a number 10 and then became a number 8, and he was a right winger. Then he became like a pseudo cam, and then became a number 9, and then a 9.5, as Tuchel said, and a platform 9 3/4. I don't know what this brother plays, to be honest, guys. And at the same time, it's like we get angry at his performances, but at the same time, it's like, what does he do? Where does he fit? And that's the issue with these hybrid players, because it's like, cool, we have guys that can do multiple things, but not at a high level, and that's the issue. And when the team is full of them and packed with these players that can each play 3 positions at an average rate, then it's like, who can do the basics? That's the issue. Who can just stick the ball in the net? Who's a good poacher? That's why, like, obviously times where fans like begged for players like Broya to be started, because like we know maybe he's not the best at link-up play, but we've seen him put the ball at the back of the net for a weaker team like Southampton. So stuff like that, we understand why people are yelling for that. So when it comes to Kai Havertz, like I said, like all these guys, Kai Havertz, Pulisic, Mount, all these guys are always behind the ball. No one's pushing the defenders forward. No one's been a nuisance to defenders, like a Giroud example, who was always a nuisance to defenders. You can't ignore him. You can't ignore his strength and the fact that he's good at link-up play. He had that strength. Tammy Abraham is always looking forward, always looking to run in between defenders to a degree, and that makes them worried, and it draws them in and pulls them back, creating more space for the attacking midfielders and the wingers to cut in. That stuff isn't there anymore. Everyone's behind the ball. Everyone's trying to do that pseudo creation thing for no one up front, which makes no sense, which is a huge part of why we need a striker. Cool, we might get a striker, might put away the few chances we're creating, but at the same time, it's going to become an issue of creating the chances. And then on the defensive return, getting a CDM to break up play. That's going to be a problem eventually. And tactically, looking at wingers, for example, if I compare the 3-4-3 formation to like using a 4 at the back, a lot of the time we also don't have dedicated wingers. A lot of these guys are like inverted wingers, and they're like coming on the inside. We don't have traditional guys who, go to the byline and take on players there. Mudryk was kind of like that, but that's also he's struggling in the system, especially when you play 3 at the back. Sterling is technically like one of the only capable players who actually makes runs in, and he's actually a very good player, but we're making him look so average. So it's just one of those things where, and he isn't stranger to missing a couple of chances. That has happened at City as well. Joao Felix, he's also used to being a cam. When he penetrates the line, which is seldom, he just does not score. I think he's hit the post and the crossbar more times than he's actually scored this season. So it's either tremendous bad luck or something deeper is going on there, guys. So guys, it's very obvious that things are really bad. Like, rival fans don't know how bad it is. They think it's bad, but we know it's worse. Especially when we know the backroom issues going on. The fact that you got some FPL experts saying put Chelsea defenders in against Brentford because they have the home advantage. We have no advantage. Trust me. And that showed. I took Kepa out of my FPL while I benched him because I couldn't afford the free transfer. Well, the -4 points that came with that transfer. But yeah, I was glad I paid Raya that game. But anyway, off to other things. When you look at the defensive aspect of Chelsea, we're actually not that bad, to be honest. And thank goodness, because I think it becomes an issue of like, okay, obviously it's a big problem right now and people are losing their minds that we can't score goals. But I'd rather be in a position where we can't score than us conceding too much, because conceding goals will always guarantee you are going to lose games, you're going to drop points like nobody's business, and it's a massive issue. It was Liverpool and Arsenal's biggest issue for the longest time until they straightened it out. Arsenal more recently, Liverpool a long time ago with acquisitions of Alisson, Becker and Van Dijk. But for us, we're relatively solid in that department. Not to say we're perfect, far from it. But I think the biggest issue is the fact that pressure has constantly been put on the defense to uphold the highest standard, because they know if we concede, it's over. The attackers are not catching up. If we concede 1 goal within the first 20-something minutes, they're already bleak. They know that what chance is it going to be that the attackers are actually going to score. I'm sick of seeing these training videos with these guys scoring top bins and celebrating and dancing and singing when is none of that in the game. There's no plan, there's no execution, there's nothing there. No one can score. Also, when people keep predicting Chelsea's going to win 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, whatever, I'm like, great, but who's going to score the goals? Like, they actually have an idea. They don't even know who's going to score a lot of the time. You know what I mean? That's how hectic it is. A team gets to a stable point like Arsenal and City, especially Arsenal, for example, when you know relatively who's going to be the goal scorer. Either Saka, Martinelli. You don't get surprised when these guys score assists sometimes. And Ketia, when he came in, City side, Haaland, 90% of the time nowadays. Okay, cool. Grealish is starting to chip in now. Mahrez. It's not a surprise when these guys scored. They have that dedicated job. Chelsea, it's like, Lord, Havertz scored, thank goodness. I don't know where it came from, but cool. Gallagher scored some funny, wicked deflection. Okay, cool. So guys, this is going to be a massive issue for the next coach, be it Poch or whoever, Vincent Company, to come in and fix. And I'm going to make a second part of the video as to the underlying issues and the behind the scenes issues, backroom staff and all of the stuff going on as to why Chelsea are doing so badly and performing so poorly. So, Hamlet, Blue Bloods Football, signing out.